So I have no business making high quality content. Most of the stuff I put out is just low effort Let's Plays and crappy AMVs I made when I was a teenager. But I do have undiagnosed autism and a phone. So, that being said, I humbly ask that you listen to me rant for what is likely a long period of time. I'm Rara, and welcome to my video about My Little Pony.
In this life, there are a lot of uncertainties. Things often happen entirely out of your control, left to the whimsy and entropic nature of the universe. You can spend half a year writing a 40,000 word script for a retrospective about My Little Pony, only for said script to be completely lost to time because you failed to back it up or save it to the cloud before hard resetting your computer. And you only needed to reset your computer because you got a virus. But in an ironic twist of the knife, the virus persisted, even though you factory reset that darn computer. And you still lost your script regardless. That could happen to you, but I doubt it's ever happened to anyone currently alive today. That would be silly. Hi everyone, I'm Rara, and hoo boy, today I'm taking you all on an unhinged, carefully crafted and super sane trip through the world of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. This is a video that I've been trying to make ever since the show ended, and it means a lot to me. I've written and rewritten this script upwards of half a dozen times, sometimes coming across as especially melancholic and nostalgic for the series, other times inspiring and uplifting, and everything in between. And however I would have described my latest script, it was the one that I was most certain would be made into a video. To see it lost the way that it was in such a bizarre turn of events has left me with a sudden sense of apathy, but also anger, sadness, confusion about how to move forward. That being said, strap in, ladies and gentlemen, for I'll be your host as we venture deep into My Little Pony's 4th generation, Friendship is Magic. The writing gloves are metaphorically coming off, and you are among the lucky few who get to bear witness. I am the artist, and your ears the easel. I'm fucking Shamu, and you're in the splash zone. Fasten your seatbelts, keep all hands on deck, be sure to equip your 3D glasses, and please, try not to vomit. I remember when I first discovered My Little Pony, I felt kind of giddy. You know, my heart, it had the good feelings. I love the animation, the voice acting, the characters, everything. It all just felt right. And whether or not watching the show made me like gay or whatever, I couldn't help but to be enamored by it. But how did I get into it? Well, my story is nothing special, but thanks for asking. You see, I was a budding 13-year-old in the prehistoric age of 2013.
Yeah, that's right. I know what a VCR is.
Anyway, I was in middle school, eating lunch, as you do, as a middle schooler, when all of a sudden one of my friend's friends starts ranting and raving about My Little Pony. Now, this is middle school, so of course we teased him about it. Not bullied, as we were all friends, but joking around in that way that teenagers do. So essentially bullying. Anyway, fast forward a few hours and me and my best friend at the time are hanging at my place. All is normal, we whipped out some soda cans and Doritos, and we were just playing Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies on my Xbox 360.
That sentence is almost old enough to drink. Fuck.
That is, until we start talking about that kid and his My Little Pony obsession, and we get to wondering, how good can the show possibly be? It's made for little girls, right? Well, it gets to a point where I've got the first episode ready to go on my laptop using a very legal website, and I've got an HDMI cable connected to my flat screen so we can both watch. With reassuring looks that we were both being ridiculous and that we were going to go to school next Monday and make fun of that kid, I pressed play. And, well, my life changed forever. We watched 7 episodes. Not an insane amount, as I'm sure the binge watchers will let me know, but he had to go home after that episode, so we stopped there. We didn't even really say all that much as we were watching the show. There was just an apparent mutual interest that kept me playing the next episode, and the next, and I finished the rest of season 1 that night. All 26 episodes, and had already started season 2. In less than 3 days' time, I'd caught up to the show, having devoured all of seasons 1 to 3, as well as the Equestria Girls movie. The entire time I was so scared someone would walk in on me watching it as my room didn't have a lock on it, but I loved every second of it. I guess I got over my fear of others finding out I watched My Little Pony, because not even a week later I had my mom and brother watching it too. And soon enough we were all caught up, eagerly awaiting season 4. It was weird. I'd recently discovered anime and had always been a nerd my whole life. Straight A's in school up to this point, and I had many geeky interests from video games to Yu-Gi-Oh! With my ADHD, I can even tend to hyperfixate and obsess over things to an almost unhealthy, and sometimes definitely unhealthy degree. However, nothing had ever quite drawn me in like My Little Pony. I was reading frickin' My Little Pony fanfiction and creepypastas. I was following several MLP ass blogs on my Tumblr because, of course, I had a Tumblr. I was subscribed to every brony YouTuber you could imagine, knew all the memes and inside jokes, and hell, was inspired to actually leave my house and go to my first ever convention, BabsCon 2015, hosted in San Francisco, 9 hours away from where I lived at the time. Luckily, my mother trusted me, a 16-year-old, to leave the house for 4 days with my brony friends whom she'd never met before who were all older than me and in their 20s, to leave for San Francisco, a location over 9 hours away from where we lived. God, what an S-tier mother. Can we get a round of applause for my mom? No, but seriously, that experience changed me. I'd never been on a road trip with friends before, and it was so much fun. The world seemed so big, and as we laughed and joked and sang songs, I was in for one of the craziest weekends of my 16-year-old life. We arrive at BabsCon, and immediately I'm noticing horse-famous people. Or, in other words, popular brony YouTubers. This is a photo of me with AC Racebest and Saberspark from that convention. I've always been a fairly introverted person, but I finally had to step out of my shell. And I learned all about general convention etiquette, what lobster tastes like, heavenly by the way, the intricacies of convention security, how to finesse your way into situations you probably shouldn't be in. All of this is to say, a stripper threw her panties at me, I had an extremely painful and debilitating leg spasm due to improper maintenance of my own health, I learned what can happen at weird adult parties when a girl I got hella wasted for the first time, and I got burnt out forever on convention panels since I attended as many as I possibly could over the span of 3 days. Oh, and Peter New fell asleep drunk in a bathtub. I learned many lessons that weekend, but the most helpful was how to properly prepare for a convention. Ever since then, I've been the convention dad who brings a ton of snacks and other necessities like hairbrushes, shampoo, conditioner, extra toothbrushes, personal towels. You do not want to use towels covered in piss and vomit, let me tell ya. I also learned that the world is full of people just like me, who crave a feeling of community, of connectedness, belonging. I don't go to brony conventions anymore, mostly because of my specific living situation and lack of disposable income, but when I did, I was with my tribe, the kind of geeks out there who were like me. Now I know you're probably picturing a bunch of fedora-donning neckbeards with Cheeto Dust stained Rainbow Dash t-shirts, but as with most communities, a lot of the actual members of the brony fandom are really cool. The internet just has a funny way of giving off bad first impressions. Now don't get me wrong, there were bronies who fit that description to a T, and it's not like they were rare exactly either, but the more fandoms I've been a part of, the more I realize that there are people like that in literally every single one of them.
It's just easiest to pick on bronies because, haha, a grown man likes pastel ponies. But it's not so easy to make fun of somebody for being into, like, Doom, you know? Because, and this is coming from someone who's never actually played a Doom game, but that kid's fucking awesome!
I mean, come on, we can all agree, right? Doom is cool. Anyway, I think all this is to say that I've seen some things. Now, I'm not some old guy with many years of wisdom and experience, but I have had experiences all my own, and in doing so, found a family of like-minded weirdos who understood me. As a longtime member of the Brony community since 2013, I have seen the rise and fall of both the show and the fandom, and this is my first foray into the world of the video essay. Now, without further ado, I present to you My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, a retrospective. Before we dive deep into the show itself, I think it's important that we go through the prior generations of MLP, at least to some extent. All great video essays begin with a history lesson, right? Anyway, let's start off with Bonnie Zachary and the creation of My Pretty Pony. The year is 1981, otherwise known as the Mesozoic era. Partnered with Hasbro and sculptor Charles Munchinger, I hope I pronounced that right, I'm not sure. Illustrator Bonnie Zachary, who I would consider to be the mother of MLP, produced a 10-inch tall pony figure with some basic functions like winking and wiggling ears. Eventually, it was followed up by My Pretty Pony and Beautiful Baby, which, as its name would suggest, came with a baby pony. This little stint as My Pretty Pony lasted but a year before, in 1982, otherwise known as the next year, Hasbro would rebrand the toy line as My Little Pony. There we are, I said the thing. This was due overall to a relative lack of success, so they thought to make the ponies smaller, with 6 distinct colors. Thus began the My Little Pony brand, or franchise, as more merchandise was sold under the same moniker. So what's the takeaway here? Small equals cute. Well shit, I could've told you that. Now, unofficially known as Generation 1, My Little Pony would go on to get several animations from the mid-80s and early 90s. There was 1984's My Little Pony Rescue at Midnight Castle, the first ever animated property for the franchise, as well as MLP Escape from Katrina in 1985, and My Little Pony the Movie, a theatrical release from 1986. That's right, for the first time ever you could catch My Little Pony on the big screen, and wow, I can only imagine what seeing an animated movie in theaters in 1986 must have been like. If you were there to experience that, please enlighten the rest of us in the comments. Anyway, to wrap up, there was also a TV series that ran from 86 to 87 called My Little Pony and Friends, and eventually My Little Pony Tales from 1982. That, folks, was the end of the first generation, and despite its relative success, we wouldn't see the beginning of something new until 1997, that being My Little Pony Generation 2, Friendship Garden. To summarize, the ponies got even smaller, and were equipped with even longer legs, and were generally cuter overall. In 1998, we got My Little Pony Friendship Gardens, which is a virtual pet game developed by Artec Studios. No animated media to go alongside this generation because 1997 was a shitty year, I suppose. This generation lasted up until 1999. Hey, the year I was born! And the year fire was discovered. The third incarnation of MLP, or G3 as most say, began in 2003. I don't have much to say about this generation either, but hey, we got some direct-to-video animated movies for this generation, so that's something? It is notable that this gen was aimed at an even younger audience, which is only further compacted by the nightmare known as Generation 3.5, Newborn Cuties. That being said, I think it's time. Time to put all of this behind us and get on to the main event. The meat and potatoes, Generation 5. No, but seriously, I want to get this out of the way before we dive into Friendship is Magic, so let's quickly run through MLP. Yeah, I don't actually know what to call Gen 5. I know that Gens 1 and 3 didn't exactly have subtitles like 2 and 4 do, but I'm assuming they're going to think of one for Gen 5 eventually. It's just listed as My Little Pony: A New Generation on the wiki. And although they put on the 5th gen's first film back in September of 2021, they still haven't properly titled the generation. Wait, I think it might be called Make Your Mark? To be fair, I really don't like the animation style of the 5th gen, and outside of the 2021 movie, I have not been keeping up with the franchise, particularly because although the movie was fine, as an introduction to the newest generation of one of my favorite intellectual properties of all time, it was lackluster. It looks and feels like an Illumination movie, a studio I mostly loathe, sans the Mario movie, and despite what everyone says, I liked Sing as well. Regardless, My Little Pony, in my opinion, has seemingly fallen off with the newest generation, which I guess we're calling Make Your Mark moving forward.
See, I wrote all that stuff about Generation 5 like 3 years ago at this point. And here's the thing about that in the script specifically, like in this video. I don't believe that I mention Generation 5 again throughout the entire, what I now know to be over 6 fucking hours of content. So even though I said we'll be referring to Generation 5 as make your mark, how's that working on the camera? We will not be referring to it. We will not be referring to Generation 5 for the rest of the video. So I guess now that I'm years removed from writing that, how do I feel about Generation 5 now? The same. I haven't watched it. I watched the movie that came out before it actually started, and then that's it, because the movie was like pretty okay. I don't like the lore, the direction, the characters. Like, these designs are okay, not great, but I like them. And these designs are bad. You can fight me on this. The music, from the movie at least, the only music that I know of G5 is okay. It's all just okay. I don't know if it's nostalgia, but I was immediately off-put by the animation style, from G4 that was made in Flash to G5, which was made in, I didn't look into it, but something bad. All that I will say about Generation 5, Make Your Mark, is that it exists. Whether or not the content that came out after the movie is okay, I don't think it is. I mean, I've seen Reddit threads and stuff. I don't know. It seems kind of mixed. Like, there are devout fans and followers of G5, like there is fans of everything, but that's not indicative of quality because there were fans of everything. And I don't want to be like some blind hater who's just hating on a thing for no reason. And I haven't given it my fair share. I should probably watch it so that like I could have something to talk about when it comes to it. But it's like, it looks bad. I don't like the characters. I don't like the character designs. Like the characters in the movie are just whatever, man. And they tried to do Rainbow Dash 2 with Zip, I think they call her, but like, it just, oh god. And then the guy character is just there. And I keep putting emphasis on just because of how like mediocre it is. And also, like, why did things go bad at the end of G4? Why did it have to be that like Twilight fucked everything up, right? Or at the very least led to things getting messed up, because she was literally like the most prolific pony of her time, right? Like, there's the Alicorn race of Celestia and Luna and Cadence. Celestia and Luna, I haven't read the My Little Pony comics, right? But from what I know of the comics, which is like a teeny tiny amount, they come from another land. They are their own separate race. They are not technically ponies, right? Like, they are not Earth pony, Pegasus, unicorn. They are their own separate race called Alicorns that come from outside the land of Equestria, just fucking somewhere out there, okay? And then, from what I can tell, and again, I don't know shit, but they just came to Equestria, and the ponies started worshipping them, basically. They're like, oh my gosh, you're all three, you got the wings and the horns, you can magic, and you fly. And it's like, wow, you're basically gods to us, we will praise you. Which, like, honestly, if a superhuman just came down, like if Superman just came down from the skies one day from, like, Kryptonian, whatever the fuck his planet is called, I don't know Superman lore, we would worship him as an actual god. Some people would think of that as Jesus reincarnate or whatever the fuck. So yeah, like I kind of get it, but then like, where did Cadence come from? And again, this is from the comics, but from what I can tell, Cadence is like the adopted grand niece of Celestia somehow, and they don't really get into the royal lineage or the bloodlines and how it all works, and how is Prince Blueblood related to Celestia if he is technically by blood related. Hey, Extended Universe, AU fans, comic readers, explain this to me, because I would like to know, but I'm not so interested in MLP anymore that I would go on my own deep dive for this. But it is a little interesting. Anyway, my sanity is slipping. And then Flurry Heart is the first born alicorn in Equestria from Cadence and Shining Armor. We know this to be a fact. It is a relevant plot point in FIM, and we see Flurry Heart grow. So then that's the fourth alicorn, technically. Although before that, the fourth alicorn is Twilight, because we have 3 natural-born alicorns, one who is born from an alicorn, like and a regular unicorn pony, right? So you can birth them; they're an already existing race, and a regular pony can become one. Which makes me think that, as a non-comic reader, maybe the race of alicorns that we know just figured out the secret to being like this transcendent race of alicorn beings with all of the works. But I don't know. Maybe they're just like the perfect, like, I don't want to say master race, but maybe they figured out how to be perfect beings, and they're just like so above it all. And then Celestia and Cadence defected because they're like, no, love and peace is cool, and being perfect automaton bot people is stupid. That'd be an interesting plot line. But anyways, Twilight becomes an alicorn, and that throws a wrench in things. But she literally is the only pony ever, as far as I know, to transcend from pony to alicorn status, right? That has never happened, as far as I know, again, before or since. And she became a princess through her own merit, through her extreme intelligence and her diligent studies of finding out about the magic of friendship, bringing back a magical power that existed in like trace quantities throughout the land, but now flows throughout Equestria, especially at the end of the series when all that shit happens with the school. We will get there in part 2. But yeah, she like united all of the kingdoms, and there's just like harmony throughout the lands, and friendship is at its peak, I guess. And somehow this, godly pony Twilight Sparkle, who does all this stuff, is like a super genius, and is like the queen of friendship and the most prolific pony to ever live, somehow fucks things up so bad that things regress to like worse. The races are even more divided than they were in G4. And G4 didn't have like blatant racism. I mean, there were some kind of allegories here and there where it's like, oh, some of these Earth ponies, they don't want no magic, shit like that. But it wasn't like the races were fucking divided, And I don't want to think that Twilight, because like Fluttershy is my number 1. Okay, let's not mistake that. But I don't want to think that Twilight, like my spirit animal, the pony that I connect to the most, somehow fucked that up, because we know Twilight. This is not a rant that I wanted to do this early into the video, but here we go, or here we have already gone, I guess. So I have conflicting feelings about Generation 5. And I hope I made that clear. And now we are going to go the rest of this video without ever talking about it again.